Greetings, everyone. Good evening, good evening. My name is Romero Hopkins. Welcome to Chapel Tuesday, here on the campus of the American Baptist College, where the mission is as a historically black college with a liberal arts emphasis is to educate, graduate, and prepare diverse students for Christian leadership, service, and social justice in the world. As an institution of higher learning, we are committed to social justice, equity, advocacy, and leadership, also known as SEAL. As we gather in this sacred space, let us center our hearts and minds on the presence of the divine. In this moment, let us remember that we are a part of a diverse community, brought together by a shared desire to seek truth, meaning, and spiritual growth. We come from different backgrounds, cultures, and perspectives, and yet we are united in our pursuit of knowledge and understanding. In this time of worship, let us celebrate the richness of our diversity, recognizing that each person brings unique gifts and experiences that contribute to the tapestry of our community. May we honor and respect one another, embracing the beauty of our differences and finding common ground in our shared humanity. As we engage in songs, prayers, and readings and reflections, let us be open to the movement of the divine spirit among us. Let us now enter this time of worship with open hearts, seeking to encounter the divine presence within and among us. May our worship be a source of renewal and inspiration as we continue our journey of learning, growth, and spiritual inspiration. Now at this time, we're going to have a song by Miss Charlene Harrison.
If you're breathing, if you're moving, if you can talk, if you can walk and you can see, you know you're blessed. And our coming out and our going in, wherever we are, we're blessed. We're blessed in the city, we're blessed in the field, we're blessed when we come and when we go. We cast down every stronghold, sickness and poverty must cease, for the devil is defeated. We are blessed, blessed, blessed. Yeah, blessed, blessed. Oh, yeah, blessed. Yeah, you say, come here, Aaron. Come here, Aaron. Come on. Oh, we're blessed in the city. We're blessed in the field. We're blessed when we come and when we go. We cast down every stronghold, sickness and poverty must cease, for the devil is defeated. We are blessed. Late in the midnight hour, God's gonna turn it around. It's gonna work in your favor. Oh, yeah. Late in the midnight hour, God's gonna turn it around. It's gonna work in your favor. Oh, late in the midnight hour, God's gonna turn it around. It's gonna work in your favor. Yeah, late in the midnight hour, God's gonna turn it around. And around, 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 and around. He'll turn it around, around, around. He'll turn it around. Yeah. Hey, we're blessed in the city. We're blessed in the field. We're blessed when we come and when we go. We cast down every stronghold. Sickness and poverty must cease, for the devil is defeated. We are blessed. Late in the midnight hour, God can turn it around. No matter what your problem is, your situation or your circumstance,
blessed. I'm grateful today that I'm blessed. Blessed by the best, blessed to be here. Thank you for your blessing. What a privilege and an honor it is just to dwell in Chapel Tuesday once again. We find our scriptures today in Exodus chapter 15, verses 20 through 21. And it says, then the prophetess Miriam, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand. All the women followed her, playing tambourines and dancing. Miriam sang the refrain back to them, singing to the Lord for an overflowing victory. Horse and rider, he threw them into the sea. In Luke's Gospel, chapter 21, verses 1 through 4, it says, just then he looked up and saw the rich people dropping offerings in the collection plate. Then he saw a poor widow put in 2 pennies. He said, the plain truth is that this widow has given by far the largest offering today. All these other made offerings that they'll never miss. She gave extravagantly what she could afford. She gave her all. In Romans chapter 16, verses 1 through 2, I have good things to say about Phoebe, who is a leader in the church at Synchary. Welcome her in a way that is proper for someone who has faith in the Lord and is one of God's people. Help her in any way you can. After all, she has proven and provided to be a respected leader for many others, including me. Let us pray. Everlasting God, we pray that you would speak a clear word to us today. May we look to you as our first option rather than our last resort. We call on you to meet our needs and satisfy our desires. Fill our mouths with praise for you. Speak your words of love and compassion to us and give us an ear to hear what you are saying. Prepare our hearts to receive your love and to pour out that love to others. God, we know that you made women and men in your image. On this day, we give special attention to women. May we be reminded that women are made in your image just as men. We pray that you will give the women of our time the strength to persevere, the courage to speak out, and the faith to believe in you beyond all system and institutions. Hear the prayer of every woman and man here today and answer in your great love. Enter this place and meet us today. Remove all fear and sadness. Refresh our souls. As we look to you, we see the radiance of your glory. Increase our faith as you reveal more of your character and your deeds to us. Shine into our light and drive the dark away. May your glory fill our hearts. May your grace be with our spirit. In your mighty name, amen. We will have another song by Miss Charlene Harrison. Let's give her a hand as she comes.
Trouble in my way, I have to cry sometimes. Oh, so much trouble, I have to cry sometimes. I lay awake at night, but that's all
very intentional way, this idea that Jesus will fix it after a while is an invitation. And listen closely to the flexibility of Jesus. It's not a word that we typically would associate with him, but my living testimony that his presence and his power has a way of adapting to situations so that when trouble shows up, when chaos comes, when trials, even in the form of opportunities, my mind goes to Stephen in the book of Acts, who was being stoned to death. And Jesus did not fix it for Stephen in the way that we expect fixing it. But the text says that when Stephen looked to heaven, he saw Jesus standing at the right hand of the Father. And that may just be a play with words, but we have heard that he's sitting at the right hand of the Father. But Stephen saw him standing. And the invitation to consider is that when God is fixing something, he has the ability to be flexible enough to stand, to say, I see you. Doesn't always mean I will rescue you, but I see you and how you have faith even in the midst of it all. And so this idea of just calling on his name and he will show up, you got to remember, he may not show up the way you want him. That's why we sing, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and his justice, his way of making things right for those that they are wrong for. Will you all help me to praise and thank God for our time of celebration and worship? This begins the celebration of National Women's Herstory Month. It's unfortunate that we even have to identify it, but we live in a world and we live in a time when we subjugate people, we oppress people for various reasons. And with the same level, we need to highlight, spotlight, we need to focus. And so during the month of March, it is with deliberation that we've invited women to come and to talk and to speak and to share their experience, their strength, and their hope. And so uniquely, I've just met a new friend and a family member. And you know, that only happens typically in the black church. You can meet somebody on a Monday and y'all are family on Monday. You know somebody that they know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and before you know it, you go, we are family. And so her aunt is here, Miss Carla Tucker, who was with us on last week with her husband, Davy. And I want to invite to come and sit with me, if you all would assist her, Attorney Courtney Teasley as our special guest for this evening. And so just for production's sake, Attorney Teasley, they want us to talk in the mic like this. Let me make sure we got it on. I may have done something that I shouldn't have. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Okay, we need another microphone. We'll get it working. Yeah, we're in good shape. This is a safe space. Nothing is perfect. It's all progressive. Check 1. Okay, there we go. So now let's try your voice.
Check 1, 2.
Let's switch.
Check, check, check.
And I can use my
All
preaching
right,
voice. Yes, they call that fundamentals. We call it mic-dementals.
Mike-dementals.
So, one, I'm honored to have you here at American Baptist College. I think you said the last time you were here was in 2006.
Wow. It was.
When your uncle graduated.
It was. I had to figure out where to come on the campus.
Yes.
I was in undergrad then.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about where you're from. Are you from Nashville, which is rare in today's times, but tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a unicorn. So I thank you, first of all, for having me here. Thank you just for taking me under your wing, Dr. Green. I want to say thank you to the Dean, Reverend Forrest Harris. I appreciate you all for having me here, and shout out to my aunt for being here as well. But I am from East Nashville. I'm a Nashville native, and so I am from what I call the DAMM community, and that is disproportionately affected, marginalized minority. So that's DAMM. All right? And so I went over to Stratford High School, and I was a part of the crack epidemic because my parents were both victims of it. So I was raised by my grandmother, which is why I can sit up in here and just love hearing sister right here praise, and I'm singing soprano behind her because I was raised in the black church. And so everything about it, I've just loved. That y'all do this every week?
Yes,
every week. I love it. Absolutely. It makes me feel like I'm in the choir again. I love it.
Great. Talk about that. But there are 2 or 3 things. So your sense of being reared here in Nashville and then being influenced by the black church. How did that influence you over the course of your life and having your grandmother there to deposit in you and rear you? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, y'all know how it is raised with your grandparents. You got to go to church, and you got to go to church every 5 minutes, right? And so I often got made fun of because I had hot sauce in my purse. I was like, we eat chicken all the time. Every week we eat chicken, but it was amazing, right, being raised in the black church because I've always been a very bold person, very justice-focused. And so in the black church is where I could get my voice. Right? That's where I did all of my poems. That's where I wrote my plays. I forced my little brothers to be in them, cracked the whip around them and made sure we had real good productions, didn't we? And so I really was able to expose deeper issues. So we did Emmett Till, we did Little Rock 9, we talked about Jenna 6, we did MLK and Obama. So all of that I was always showing in my own church. Right? And I was able to get it out and really kind of be creative with it in a safe environment. Right? And then, so that for me was huge because I learned a lot about the civil rights movement and how important it was. And then when I became a lawyer and I started practicing and I started to see, because all I've heard coming up is the least of these. And my brain, my strength is very, I have a strategic mind. So I put together things fast, some things that may not seem to go together, but I'll put them together really quickly. So when I was practicing and I was seeing everybody that comes in the courtroom look like me from where I'm from. Yeah, and I see these lawyers, and I assumed y'all were doing what y'all supposed to be doing, but then I found out you didn't even go see your client. You just gave them the plea. And so I started to just kind of see it differently. I was like, oh, wait a minute. We the least of these. We're the 6 times more incarcerated, Black Americans. We are the ones at the bottom of every statistic, economic statistics, criminal justice statistics. We're at the bottom of everything. And then we saw with this election, they exploited that, right? And they even talk to some of us and say things, and they know we've been undereducated in certain things. So anyway, the point was the church, you know, I was able to learn about how all of these leaders and how the church was very much the movement for that. And then I saw this other movement, right? And I read the new Jim Crow, and I saw that, and I'm like, okay, cool beans. I'm still practicing law. I'm doing my best to work, fight. Mass incarceration still increasing. Dang. It's not enough people fighting. Oh, okay. Well, let me see what we can do, right? And so then I started to get a little bit more proactive as I taught at Tennessee State University Criminal Justice Department. I started to create a curriculum so that way I could start educating my people. Like, hey, I know they want me to teach you this, but let me teach you this, because this is what we should know. So that was kind of my trajectory, and I kind of, again, went from the church, learned about the civil rights movement, came to the criminal justice system, recognized that we're the most disproportionately affected in this area, and absolutely everybody is doing nothing but reactive things to assist. Meaning reactive after someone has already been found guilty or pled guilty, right? And gave up 20, 30 years of my life. Can you do something before then? Hello?
Preach.
So that's where I started to see that, all right, this situation is not going anywhere. It's been over 10 years since mass incarceration awareness started with Michelle Alexander. It's still increasing. We need an organized strategy to come at this, and it has to be proactive.
What I think is interesting, because I want to segue and connect the idea of your grandmother, female, you, female, and yet you're noticing and being awakened to this idea of the experiences in the Black church and then moving into other spaces and places. What was it, or what was it not being female that allowed that to come forward, considering not only do we have mass incarceration, but we have other forms and ways that we oppress people because of gender and orientation and all of these other things. How did you come to the fullness of, I am a person who happens to be female, and yet I see a need and I want to respond to it? So I think that's twofold. Who you are as a woman, and then we'll come back around this idea of being the attorney and how you want to address some of the issues in our community.
If I don't answer any of a part of the question, let me know. I'm gonna start with the beginning part. So my grandmother is a very strong individual, and I had no choice but to be raised as a very strong individual. My grandmother always taught me, hey, we don't dummy ourselves down for nobody, okay, right? And so my grandma was very much a part of me being able to stand in my fullness, right? And stand in unapologetically, this is what it is. You know, hey, I don't care that she never always taught me, hey, we're not gonna be stupid. You know, we ain't gonna, you call a spade, say what it is, call it out. And then like growing up in the church, I had always learned that, to me, you know, I've always taken that we fight with, not with flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. So for me, I'm always very keen on looking at these different things, and if I see something that I find is systemically oppressing, I know that that's a higher power. That's something that's not flesh and blood. That's deeper, right? And so I will call it out. Anything that I see, right, that I feel like is, I'm like, oh no, I see clearly what you are. No, let me call you out right now, because when you call it out, right, that's what I learned growing up in the church. You had to call them by name, you know, right? Call it out, call it spade a spade. And so that, to me, is just what was put into me as a child, right? Growing up, coming to church all the time, and then also having my grandmother on this side of me saying, we don't dummy ourselves down for anybody. She gave me the ability and the affirmation, the permission to go be the best as who I am. And I'm a woman, and I don't care what y'all like about that. This is what I said, you know? Go take it up in your little men groups or whatever you need to do, but I'm here to say this, you know, what thus says the Lord, whatever, you know. Yes. So that is always how I've been, you know, and my uncle would probably say I was very harsh on men. I probably at one point in time, maybe I was. No, I told y'all I had trauma growing up. I'm from the disproportionately affected marginalized minority. I didn't have my father in my life. I was angry. I didn't have this. So I had a lot of things that led to me becoming as bold and standing on principle as I do. However, I got more refined as I got older. I learned how to argue. I learned how to really win. I learned how to be more persuasive to those who maybe feel some type of way. We deal with that in court. You might have someone who doesn't like cops. They really sometimes don't want to be addressed by a black woman. I love that because then I'm now about to handle you because I want you to go ahead and come out and let the judge see what kind of person you are. Now I'm picking a little bit, right? I'm going to start saying this. Well, officer, what about that? So though I utilize that, right, kind of prejudice at times that we see, I just utilize it against them because I worked to get here, right? I know my expertise, did you go to basic training? What, about how many months? What do you really know? So yeah, I utilize it.
It sounds like what could have been a liability, you made an asset.
Always, yes.
So now let's talk about you're an attorney. Let's just talk about how you ended up there. And we're going to spin to this mass incarceration because there had to be a journey, right? Yeah. So let's talk about being an attorney. What moved you? What was the motivation to pursue that as a part of your ministry, your call, career, and profession?
Gotta be honest here. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Most lawyers we want to be lawyers who won't want to be broke no more. Right? Seriously, we just want to get a job. We can make a lot of money. However, once I got, I took a gap year after MTSU.
What's a gap year?
Gap year is just when you don't go straight to law school immediately. So I graduated in May. I didn't go to law school in August. I ended up going to law school in February. I started working for a criminal defense lawyer here. She is a black woman. She's my mentor. Love her. Real close, attorney Joy Kimbrough, and she was newer when I was coming out. And I was coming out. Yes, attorney, I love her. That's my girl. And so I was working for her at that time frame. So I was able to see this boldness in practicing, right? I was able to see a black female disrupting in this space, and it wasn't in the typical way that most people think you have to disrupt in this space. Like, oh, you got to work for the system so you can do it, or you got to do this. And I was like, well, actually, that ties my hands a lot more. I can't do as much if I work for you. You paying me. So now you got my tongue because I don't want to say too much because I might lose my job and then my family affected. So I was able to see her fight. And I was able to see her fight hard against the system. So that was me in between, in that gap year. And then I applied to law school and I was like, oh, okay. I can do this. So there's a space for me to be unapologetic. There's a space for me to be able to make money and create opportunities for others as well, right? She could do whatever she wanted. If she wanted to, she created wealth charging people, but she was able to then give discounts. She was able to have sliding scales because she was stood on business. So I was just able to see business be handled, right? Quality service be given. And it was a black woman, unapologetically. And then finally, I saw her when she went against, and this is very important because we unseated a judge here and made Nashville history doing so. It had never been done in criminal court before, and we didn't know that. However, what told us it was possible was the fact that she had ran against a judge, and she lost by like 500 votes. And I knew this judge because he was my teacher in school. He was one of my professors. And I saw him totally change after that election. After he recognized your job is only your job because we gave you your job. We elected you. And we can unelect you too. So that told a lot of us that, oh my God, hold on. She almost won. So then that really kind of created this proactive kind of thing. It was like, all right, where are the issues in our community? There was a lot going on around that time. And so the question was, where did I get that? I got it from working in the field and seeing it. That's where I got it.
So I'm noticing a pattern here, grandmother, then another female, and they're modeling and emulating what it means to stand up and how God created you.
Yes.
So now you're in this criminal defense world, and then something happened. What was it that happened that moved you to this place to want to know more about and do more about mass incarceration. What was that? And I want you to catch this aha moment instead of a uh-oh moment.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. It was when I was teaching at Tennessee State University in the Criminal Justice Department. And I had a student, and again, I told you I created my own curriculum so that way they could be educated on every step of the criminal justice system and how it occurs, right? And what to do at each stage. And so TSU homecoming, you know how that gets. And he contacted me, and I ain't answered the first time because it's the weekend. I'm like, what are you doing calling me, right? I'll talk to you on Monday. And so I finally answered because he kept calling back to back, and he had been involved in a shooting, but it was self-defense. And it just had happened, and he wanted to go to the police, but he did not want to go by himself because he knew, like we had a conversation in class, you never go talk to the police by yourself. You got the right to, you never have to speak to police in general, but if you're gonna go, you gotta go with a lawyer. It just don't make sense to go by yourself. So he contacted me because he knew that, and him and all his friends came in, and I sat down and I talked to each of them. And I listened, and I said, okay, no, this does sound like self-defense. And I did my own research because I'm a good lawyer. And I looked into who the victim was, and I saw that this victim had a habit of gun-toting and shooting up. He wasn't even from here. He didn't even go to school here, but he was terrorizing. And I said, okay, now we go talk to the police, right? Because we got the strategy. I see what this is. But I'm going to go with you all, right? I'm going to protect you all from them just, turning this around and making this an easy conviction for them so they can go get some accolades in a little coin or something, right, down at the station. So when we get there, we talk about it. I got the gun. We give it to them. They try to overstep. I'm like, hey, we won't talk anymore. We said, we already answered this question. Okay, let's keep going. And at the end of that, we got a letter about a week, 2 later that said, well, we believe the story of what you said, because we gave him all the evidence about the victim and all that good stuff, and we're not going to prosecute him. And I said, hold on. I only charged him for a couple of hours. He paid me under $600 to talk to me all day, to go to the criminal, down to the police station. Now, if I was a bad lawyer, if I was only motivated for money, I could have, bamboozled that, right? I could have done a little, I'm gonna get $20,000 if I let you get charged. I'm gonna get $25,000 if I'm representing you in a murder. But it was aha for me because I saw then that if we can intervene at this level, people save a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of years of stress, right? And they save the ability to, they avoid going into the system. They avoid getting into it to begin with, right? Because it's a whole thing once you get in there. Once you get charged, it's only probable cause. It only takes you probably haven't done it. Your whole life for the next few years, you done spent tens of thousands of dollars. You sitting around worried, you're tired. It's crazy. So that was the aha moment for me. Once I was able to see that, I gave this boy education. He's from Memphis. Proactive education in a classroom we were in. He did what I told him to do. He did not get charged. He saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I said, we can do this better. And so that was the aha moment for me.
So what I want to do is add this piece to how you then lean into mass incarceration. But I want you to tie it to the work that you're going to be doing for the Garnet Neighbor Lectures. She's going to be teaching one of the classes, and on day 1, she'll be talking about the why, and then on day 2, she'll be using her book to talk about the how. Often people will give us stats and give us information, but there's no how to do it. Mm-hmm. But ever since I've met you, you've had this passion, and you keep talking about we got to do something in regard to mass incarceration. What was that moment for you?
Well,
or moments
for mass incarceration. So For me, it was after the election. That's when I began building a business solely to focus on proactive and innovative solutions to combat mass incarceration, because I saw there were none. I did all this research, and I was able to see that all the nonprofits or anybody who was had criminal justice reform in their missions was, they were reactive. They only did something after someone had been found guilty, right? And I was like, okay, well, mass incarceration is not going to go anywhere from here. We're going to continuously lose ourselves in this. And so the final straw was when I was building this business. And again, I always try to explain to people, I feel like I was building Noah's Ark. It's because I knew everything that I was doing, but I really didn't know how to articulate it. I couldn't explain it to nobody else. I would just be in my room all the time. I wasn't going to see my family no more. I was just I was writing every day. And so when I got it, and I got a case where there was a family that was taken, hashtag Disrupt Manchester for you Instagram and Twitter people. This is a case where there was a group of people of 5 children and their 2 parents coming from Atlanta, and they were coming up through Manchester, coming to they were going to Chicago, but you got to come through Manchester, and they were stopped. The man had been made a felon when he was like 18 years old, hadn't been in no trouble since then, but because of that only, that one little thing, they had him on the side of the road. They put him over because of slow poke law. Slow poke law. Pretextual stop, right? Pull him over, take him out, kids all out, 3-month-old baby, the 7-year-old child, all out. It's freezing cold. They're harassing them. They find a small amount of marijuana. We know hemp is legal here. The TBI has said it looks just like marijuana, but somehow, some reason, it makes sense for probable cause of the smell alone to be able to intrude upon your life. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense, but they did all this to them, and they only found that small amount, and they said, oh, we're gonna arrest you, and they said they're not gonna arrest the mama, but they made her come down to the station anywhere where she thought she was gonna bond them out. She got down there, and they put the spikes behind her car to keep her from leaving. They surrounded her. They demanded she pee in a cup in the car. They literally stole the children for her, and we now found out that there was actually no court order for them to do that. Now, at the time, I was just going based off of what I knew didn't look right. I've been a lawyer for over 10 years. I'm looking, and I'm like, hold on, you didn't have this. Well, you didn't do this either. And I just knew it didn't look right. So immediately, we just jumped into action. We just started calling it out, like loud, right? I look at Mamie Till, right? The reason that she had that funeral casket open is because she wanted to show to the world what people were doing to black people, right, down in the South. And so I wanted to shout out loud and show people in real time what they were doing to black people, because when you put the spotlight on them, if I can ignite all of you citizens to start looking and using your duties as a citizen to assist. Hey, I want to request that personnel record of that cop. I want the body cam footage. I want that footage. You got the right to do that because you're a citizen. People just don't know, right? I organized a protest around it, a court watch protest. We didn't say anything. We were quiet. Wasn't any chant. Our presence was enough. And so we went up there, and I actually had a pastor escort me down there. He's Marine, you know, and trained, and he took me down there. He carried his weapon to make sure that we got back safe, because it was that kind of thing. And so we fought tooth and nail with them, but proactively, you know, strategically organizing multiple people to keep their eyes on them. So they kept making mistakes, right? They kept making mistakes. They're used to operating without people caring, any checking. And so that case was the one that really kind of took it in and said, oh, so not just mass incarceration of our black and brown bodies in a prison cell, you're stealing our children, right? You're putting them into different systems. Those systems lead straight to prison, right? You're in foster care, you're more likely to go straight to foster care to prison pipeline. So they were doing these strategic things to keep from having these children, and like, you know, it was hard to tell unless you could really just focus in and just say, hold on. Where's the order? Where is this? Why did that lawyer waive this hearing? You just paid them. Why did you waive the probable cause hearing? Why did you do that? And saying it fast and out loud. And then everybody want to call, oh, I want to help. Oh, I want to do this. I want to run an interference. And so it was that case.
So we're going to get ready to wrap up, but there's an intentionality about it. You mentioned Manchester, small
town, rural congregations.
So one of the ways that I was introduced to Attorney Teasley, and we've been awarded a grant for $2 million here at American Baptist College to help congregations in 3 areas of focus: leadership coaching, congregational development, and community engagement. And once I met Attorney Teasley, and she talked about some of these stories in small towns and rural cities, I knew that she needed to come alongside of us, or we come alongside you, to figure out ways to help them understand where they are along. Because certainly if you don't have representation in Davidson County, I can imagine what the numbers are, the demographics are there. But you had another aha moment, and if you could just talk about when we were at the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference, how you were able to see this connection between the preaching ministry and the legal ministry, and how that did what it did to you and for you. And what time do we have, Mr. Searcy? 6:17. We got about 3 minutes. Talk about how that came together and emerged in you in ways that you even talked about. I didn't know the similarities of this work.
Yeah, I had no idea. First of all, the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference was fire. Oh my God. I said, if I don't go to church nothing but one Saturday a year, it can be that time. It was everything I needed. My social justice soul was just I loved it. Okay. Whew. The similarities between preachers and lawyers. I always like to say, because when you look at lawyers, the great majority of lawyers, right, when we think about trying to get some lawyers to help, people are like, oh, where the black lawyers at, right? It's only 5% black lawyers, all right? Our black lawyers has not went up, right? It's actually decreasing, but here's the actual horrible issue, is the fact that the majority of them actually work for the government, right, or for other organizations. None of them are actually working in the area that they can be most effective, and sometimes social justice organizations aid in that by giving scholarships for them to go do nothing but civil rights, right? Civil rights was the issue that we were fighting in the new Jim Crow, right? When we were talking about what's that new caste system, we have a whole new system here now that we need to be focusing on, and nobody, not any of us, not the law schools, nobody is pushing this at all. They'll go, so that's the one issue. So where some lawyers can be the biggest help, they're nowhere to be found. And a lot of times they're not empowered to be here. They're scared to make mistakes. They don't know, they hear it's no money, whatever the situation may be. Pastors, preachers, the majority of preachers, right? You'll hear prison reform ministries, all that. I loved it, it's great. However, it's solely reactive, right? So I see 2 of them, and I see both of them have the capacity, right, to work and actually make a big difference in this industry, because lawyers and preachers have the most influence. You can articulate yourself, you make arguments well, we do all of these good things, right? We're persuasive.
Preach, Reverend.
Hello? Okay, and say. And so people are listening to you, they want to hear from you, and so I see that, but the majority of preachers won't touch anything of that nature, right? For a number of reasons, right? Whatever it is, I've heard from you, learned from my uncle, theology, all this good stuff. But the point is, we have the most ability to make the greatest impact and actually make a dent in mass incarceration, but neither of us are working together or working alone to do anything. And that's why mass incarceration came in.
Any closing remarks or thoughts, anything you would want to say to ABC online and here in person?
That's a good one. Let me see if I actually put a note here, because I don't have a whole lot here, but I said we can't pray mass incarceration away. We can't wait for someone else to fix it. If we believe in justice, if we believe in serving the least of us, then we must be proactive in this fight. The church has always been the center of our liberation, and so we have to reclaim that role and just start actually disrupting this system today. The people that we think are in it, the ones that you think that they show us in the media, that's the media showing us what they want us to see, right? You see somebody with some pants down, see somebody with their hair braided, you automatically go into your man, put the pants up. I want to help them. there. He shouldn't be over there. I swear to God, that's not the majority of the people in the criminal justice system. It's not. It's us. It is us. It's people who get in trouble maybe once. It's people who literally are just trying to make it, right? You're doing right, but somebody, maybe a cousin, it's literally us. And so there's a very small portion, but that's what the media wants us to see and think, so that way we turn our minds off to helping or aiding in their defense because they're a criminal. Why would we help them? So that is this is the last thing I'd like to lead. And we have to, the church is the heart of the civil rights movement. This is the movement at this point in time. And we need each other, especially in this time frame.
Let's give her a hand. Let's thank God for Attorney Courtney Teasley. So as I said, for the Garnet Neighborhood Lectures, she will be one of the teachers, facilitators dealing with the very things that you heard on this evening. And so we want to encourage you as we continue on our road to 100, and that you will join us for those activities that will begin Tuesday, March the 17th, and will end and conclude on Thursday, March the 20th, being held at the 15th Avenue Baptist Church. Thank you, Attorney Teasley, for coming this way. Dr. Harris, our president, you sure? Come on and say something, just one something, if you would, President Harris. She gave you an upgrade. She made you the dean.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you so much. I've heard so much about you through your uncle. And I told him he ought to listen to you sometimes. It's so good to see you, Paula. The talent, the broad capacity of gifts that God has given to us through our people and through our experience. Stratford High School, Nashville, coming through that whole culture. And God produced a lawyer with passion and commitment to the core issues of what justice means for our people. And I like the nomenclature of damn. And I need to say what that nomenclature is so that people don't think I'm cussing. But what is it again?
Disproportionately affected, marginalized minority.
Thank God for that. Thank God. And there is no space in Nashville like this space on Tuesday at 5:30, where we unleash the energy of our bodies and our spirits together with God. And every time I'm in this space, I get a sense of what that power is for the times in which we live. So trouble in my way, I have to cry sometimes. Trouble in my way. That song was a song that brought us up through Memphis in the segregated 60s. And we saw God handle that trouble. And the way Dean Green, the real Dean, interpreted how Jesus will fix it. Jesus is always in proximity to suffering. Jesus is actually with us in our suffering. So he said, be of good cheer. In the world you shall have trials and tribulations, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. Thank you so much. Let's keep this space open for God and open for us as we seek transformation in our time. Thank you, Dean.
Amen. Shall we stand? Mr. Evans, will you come and lead us in our alma mater? This is our last week for chapel until the fourth Tuesday of March. And so we'll be on spring break, we'll be on reading period, and midterm. If you will come and stand center, please.
We love the alma mater, the school we cherish so. The world will read thy data wherever we may go. Thy words will never alter, will never, never falter, and showing forth thy faithfulness. A-B-T-S. The world will praise thy students wherever they may go. Thy walls have made them prudent because they love thee so. They'll never get the pleasures, the care and precious treasures of all thy love and righteousness. A-B-T-S. The memory of thy teachers shall linger in our hearts. The words of all thy preachers shall battle Satan's darts. We'll honor thee forever, forsake thee never ever. Forever we'll sing thy blessedness. A-B-T-S. Peace be with you. Hug somebody and tell them that you love them.